All right, we are live. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Black Future Month annual roundtable. And we are talking, this is the Black Health Roundtable. So we're going to get into all things health and wellness, physical, mental, spiritual. We have a lot to talk about. But I first wanted to welcome everybody to Black Future Month. And really, this is a labor of love and wanting us wanting me, myself, my husband, Devon, you'll see him later on at some other roundtables, but wanting to also have an intentional month where we are talking about the future of Black folks, of everything and the African diaspora, because Black History Month is fantastic. We're not here trying to replace Black History Month. Of course, if you know who we are, Play Black Wall Street, we're all about Black history and think that it's so important. We are here to talk about Black future, right? What does it look like 50 years from now? How can we be intentional today to create the future that we want for our community? So that's really what we're doing here. Now, Black Future Month is sponsored by a couple of different organizations. One of them is IMI, Institute of Melanated Innovation. And I want to talk a little bit about what IMI does before we get into the discussion here. So the purpose of IMI is really to increase access to Black Studies courses and experiences for K through 12 youth and community members, and also to serve as a think tank and research center focused on solving problems and improving the life within Black communities. Some components of IMI, we have on-demand courses. You can learn about the history of Mansa Musa. You can learn about how to start a business. We have free live events, just like the one you're watching now. And we're hoping in the future and working towards creating incubators and accelerators for folks who want to bring their business ideas to life, because we're all about that as well. So, as I mentioned, we're here for the Black Health Roundtable. So if you are watching, looks like we got a couple of folks watching. If you are watching, please put your city in the comments, where we'd love to know where everybody is watching from. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them, because we would love for this to be a conversation with everybody watching as well. So if you got any thoughts, any questions, please feel free to leave them. And of course, like and share this video if you are watching, so other folks can find it as well. So let's go back. I don't know if I formally introduced myself. My name is Sinclair Walker. I am the Director of Operations and Logistics for Play Black Wall Street. I am also an FDNP, which stands for Functional Diagnostic Nutrition Practitioner. And I've always been passionate about health. And that's actually a lie. That's a lie. I'm going to retract that statement. I've not always been passionate about health, but in my adult life, I have found the passion for health. And one of the questions we actually are going to get into, maybe some things that I thought previously that I've kind of changed my mindset to as I got in more into health and wellness. But I'm excited to be here with you all and to just host this conversation with our wonderful guests. I think we may have one more joining us later on, but right now with me, I have the wonderful Miss Maya Williams. I'm going to add her to the conversation, and let's get started.
Hey, good morning.
Hello, good morning. Good morning. How are you doing, Queen Williams?
I'm doing really well. I'm honored to be here, be a part of Black Futures Month this year. I love how you started us off by saying we need as many opportunities as possible to celebrate us and get connected and acclimated and dream about us. I put in the chat that the Black future exists. Just because I know sometimes it gets bleak and we look around and see things and just wonder how will we go on, but we will. So I'm really honored to be here. Thank you.
Of course. Very happy to have you. It is an honor. It looks like we got Lit Team in the building. That's what's up. Let me know specifically who you are. We can shout you out, but we're happy to have the Lit Team from Black Business in here. So let's start off, just light introduction a little bit. You talked about your name. We see in the comments you're live from Sacramento, still repping LA. Love it. But yeah, introduce yourself a little bit. If you're repping a brand or a company, let us know. And talk about what your definition of health is.
So again, my name is Maya Williams, and I'm repping myself, and I'm also repping my new business, my new brand, CW Fortune.
Yes.
Um, I am somebody who benefited from lit programming. I'm somebody who benefited from the 7 steps to launch your business, the different products that you all have through Play Black Wall Street. And so, through just having consultation and the M4 workshop that you guys have done, like I was able to put some steps together and actualize them and start my business, CW Fortune. So it's brand new. We're in our first year of operation. And what I do is education design, message design, and just overall vision development. I help people and organizations to clarify their messages, to connect with the different audiences that they want to serve, and also to create the different products, trainings, and learning experiences that they want to offer, whether it's to their customers or to their employees. And so the fortune in fortune is all about the wealth of knowledge that I help you as a person, you as an organization to really bring to the forefront of what you're trying to share with your intended audience. So the F as in whatever kind of frameworks exist, the O as in whatever kind of opportunities exist, the R as in the ways that I can help you to reflect further on the things that we're trying to communicate and accomplish, the T because I can support with providing theoretical foundations and frameworks, the U because I'm excellent partner in helping you to unpack those thoughts, and the N as in nuancing those as well, because overall I will help you to elevate. And so that's what I do. I'm an educational designer, and I like to help experts teach and create other experts. Um, so
Come on
that's how.
now. Come
Thank you
on,
for.
having a whole acronym. I love that.
Yeah, thank you. It's not easy being this brainy, and you don't always get the time to share your message. So thank you for allowing me to share that message and just give me some time on that.
Of
Um,
course.
my definition of health is 360. Is all kind of health. It's holistic, so it starts on the inside with the cells in your body and how they function and work together. It includes how your work and your life balance is working together. It includes your relationships and the things that impact your emotions and how those things work together. It's also about the actual parts on your body physiologically. Um, so health is like mind, body, um, soul, spirit. I don't know if I would distinguish those two, but all of those things really impact the health of a person. And I see that more and more as I live longer. Um, how one thing unrelated to your weight or uh, a disability or ability, inability, unrelated, just how one thing can really have a domino effect on the ways that your health and your overall health is going. So 360.
Yeah, 1000%. I think it is everything. I think it is. I agree with you that it's like it's physical, it's spiritual, and it's all these things. And I think it is what allows you or hinders you from thriving. I
Mm.
think in an ideal world, it's what allows you to be able to get up and thrive every single day, right? Get out of bed, feel good, be able to nourish your body and not be worried about any limitations, right? Again, physical or mental, right? Things that are maybe blocking you from, oh man, I really would love to focus on, this project, but I'm stressed about this thing. Like all those things are going to affect your ability to get up and accomplish whatever you feel like you are here to do. So
Yes.
I think that is kind of how I look at health, is like, okay, in an ideal world, I'm on this planet to accomplish whatever mission, I'm still discovering. But what these little things that can hinder me, that can, right, I mean physical hindrance, because I'm sitting on an injured knee at this moment, right,
Right.
keeping me from getting outside and walking like a
No.
girl. Girl, your girl is injured. Injured.
Oh no.
Yeah, something
Okay. I'm
like
sorry.
a month ago. Um, and I can walk, I can straighten it for the first time in like a month, but it's still getting stiff. And I'm like, this is for my first time being injured since I was probably a kid. And I'm like, this is just another reminder of like the blessing that mobility is. And you don't realize,
Yes.
like, you do not realize what it is until you don't have it. And like, yes, I know my knee is probably just a little pull and or a little sprain and it'll be fine. But I'm like so thankful now when I get up and I'm like, okay, these joints are moving, like I still feel good. And yeah, that's a blessing, because again,
Yeah.
even just small injury is just a reminder that like nothing is promised.
Mm.
And yeah, you just really have to thank God for everything, all of the health and wellness that we have, even when there are little things going on that aren't quite what we expect. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, yeah. Okay, let's talk about. I really like this question because it made me think. What is something about health that you got wrong when you were younger?
So many things. So many things, Ron. I did write I jot down a quick list.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I thought that you were born how you were born. And
Mm,
so if you inherited a disease, that's what it was. And
right.
diabetes runs in the family, jaundice runs in the family, just whatever kind of things you could see coming down the line, um, traits run in
Mm-hmm.
the family. I thought that it was unpreventable.
Mm,
Um, you just had to manage it, but you were born how you were born.
yeah.
I thought that a serving was the entire package, right?
Mm,
So I did not understand the nutrition label, uh,
mm-hmm.
and that there are probably two or three servings in that box of cheeses.
Mm-hmm.
um,
Mm-hmm.
I thought that sexual health was about having sex, and that was it.
Right.
Not sexual health being so much more than that one small aspect.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I thought anxiety was a white thing, and
Mm,
that different, that poor mental health, and anxiety was a white thing. I didn't
mm,
know that we experienced that too, or know how
mm-hmm.
to name it or identify that.
Wow. Those are real. All of those are real. And those could all be full workshops and discussions on their own. The first one, what was the first one?
That you were born how you born, and
Yeah,
that it's like, mhm.
I think that one is especially prevalent in our community, because I feel like we are told and inundated with like, oh yeah, don't you know this runs in our family? You got to be careful. This runs in our family. And although there is some truth to that, genetics do play a role, but they play such a smaller portion than we are led to believe. Right, to your point, because, and I think that this is important to talk about, because it can leave you feeling helpless, right? Why bother with this health thing? Because diabetes runs in my family. I'm going to get it anyway. So let me
Mhm.
just do whatever I want, type of thing, right? Without knowing that you have the power to, change this trajectory, right? We
Yes.
have so much power. And I think that the the mindset of just like, you're born the way you're born, if it's in your family, you're going to get it regardless, I think is, it can be debilitating. It can be like, again, why try? Why is health important when it's out of my control? I think that's what it does, right? It releases it from your control. So then you
Yeah.
start to look to other people, other things to tell you what you need to do, because it's out of your control. And I think that that's the huge shift that I had myself too when I was starting to just dig into health a little bit more. Like, oh, so diet, lifestyle, like I can actually change these things, right? I can change the trajectory for my family history. I can actually prevent these things, right? I have the control. That's a very powerful mindset to have.
Because it really, like, I love how you brought it to control. It's exactly that, and it's an inspiration killer, because instead
Hmm.
of looking at someone and the quality of life that they are seeming to experience, seeing that, for example, seeing that 70-year-old yoga master and being like, that could never be me, when
Hmm.
when it could very well be you. It's not too late.
Right.
And you don't have to be who you've been. You don't have to be who your family has been. You can be whoever you need to be to change the trajectory and go the direction you want to go. And
Hmm.
it's just it breathes the defeat, it kills the inspiration, and it makes you feel out of control.
Yes. And I think that it is a tool. I think it is a tool used as well, again, because if you feel out of control, then you have nothing to do but to trust whatever whoever is telling you that you need to do, right? Because you don't feel like you don't have your agency in your own health. So you just trust
Mhm.
everybody, whoever, right? And it could be anybody, right? It could be a grandma, it could be a parent, it could be the doctor, it could be whoever, right? And you just kind of are just like, tell me what I need to do because I don't know. Or I can't do anything. And I think that, yeah, it is important for everybody to feel empowered and to know that you have the control, right? Your health is absolutely
Mhm.
in your own hands. So I think that was a very powerful one, and probably one that I would say that I also, experienced growing up, for sure. The sexual health is, oh my goodness, I doing my own research now into even just our like us as women and the cycle that our bodies go through in a given month. The fact that I'm
Mhm.
having my own research is telling already of like why are we not taught the things about the different phases like that our bodies go throughout the month and why we're feeling these things, right? I feel like it's just, oh, PMS, right? That's everything is the period. And that's a very important part. There's so many other things happening throughout the month. Even the fact
Mhm.
that, we're taught to believe like it only takes once or like that you can get pregnant at any time during the month.
Yes.
The fact that that is even like I feel like there's so much fear around, sexual health and sexual education that we're not taught these things. The only thing we know is that if you do, you can get pregnant at any time during the month, and learning these things that like how our bodies work should be taught for every single person on this planet
For
because
each
it's
other.
for each other. This is crazy that it's having like I'm having to do my own research as a 30-year-old woman. That's crazy because I feel like why I'm like reading these things like why am I learning this for the first time? This is weird. This is my own body. Why am I learning these things for the first time? It's so weird. It's so weird to me. But yeah, that's a huge one that I think is so lacking in this country. I can't speak for other countries and how they handle, sexual health and but I think it's something that we really need to step up in this conversation, in this country and our communities, right? And start really making sure that we are teaching our youth about their bodies and what is going on. Because again, if you know what's going on, you have agency to, oh, okay, well, let me do these certain types of things during this week of the month because it helps me feel better, right? You can
Yes.
alter your lifestyle to better suit your needs rather than just feeling like all these things are happening to you and you don't know what's going on because you were never taught. So that's real. I felt that one a lot.
And I mean, as as women, we have a lot to learn about ourselves. Men have a lot to learn about themselves. Men
Absolutely.
and women have a lot to learn about one another. We
Yes.
have a lot to learn about our hormones, about just about our anatomies, about the things that can eventually be prevented,
Mhm.
right? We will
Yeah.
be so out of touch, even the type of exams that we can be doing at home to
Mhm.
monitor our bodies. There's so much more to it. And when,
Yeah.
when you're a young person learning, it's like you're learning about how not to get pregnant.
Right.
And
That's
that's
it. That's it.
and that's a disservice. That's a
Yeah.
disservice to young people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, I think another thing I want to add to the conversation in terms of like what is something that I got wrong, and even saying that I got it wrong, it feels not quite accurate because I feel like we're all doing the best that we can with the information we have at the time. But
Yes.
I think that I wish that I would have known more about like stress management and how to manage stress during my college career,
Mm,
because I think about all of the, things that I am dealing with now, all probably rooted from the stress and lifestyle that I was leading in college, and not realizing that, like, yes, right, engineering major, doing all these things on campus, naturally I'm going to have a high level of stress, but I could have done so much more to manage it, right? I wish I had known about breath work. I wish I had known about meditation. I wish I had known about um, just how our nervous system acts, right? And how you're it's very
please.
binary, and you're either in that fight or flight or you're in the rest and digest. There's no in between. And I wish I would have known that, because if I reflecting back, I'm pretty sure all 5+ years that I was in college, I was just in survival mode, like running around in fight or flight, because you have looming deadlines all the time. I'm going to this job, I'm going to this meeting, I've got this club, I've got this lab, there's always something. And I think, especially during those very key developmental years, I think it's very important to make sure that we're balancing. And like, yes, doing all the things. I'm not saying I wish I had done less. I think everything I did got me to where I am today. But I think I could have, again, done a lot more to um, get control of my anxiety. Like, that's where I got introduced to anxiety. To manage that, to again learn about my body and how, if certain things are happening, like it goes kind of, again, can go down to like the nervous system. Like, okay, all right, I'm feeling this way. Let me take a couple breaths. Not that that's the end all be all cure, but that does make me feel better, right? Breath work has been like one of my biggest tools that I've been introduced to, that I keep and use on a daily basis. I'm like,
Mm,
this person I have been, had I known about that, in college and been sitting there in the exam, like, oh my gosh, what's happening? And like been able to use that tool and have it in my back pocket. Yes, like breathe. And like even learning how to breathe, for the to regulate,
right.
and that's is different, right? I'm over here like like that's not, if you're trying to calm down, like you got to use the, abdominal breathing, like slow it down, have the exhale be longer than the inhale, like all these things that I wish I had known back then. I think I could have just had a better handle on my health overall.
Wait. And so just to add to that about like being anxious and breathing and different things, like to know that tears were healthy as well.
Hmm. Let it out.
Because like we place tears in this emotional category without even thinking of the physiological benefit from that
Hmm.
release. Like I feel like when you let them out, like you can really move on. You can stop perseverating. You can stop, wishing this or wishing that. Like you can just really get to the present moment and move onward. And
Yeah.
it's just that is another thing that has been marginalized in health, right?
Hmm.
It's them tears.
Hmm. It's a way to regulate emotions, like you said. Like when things happen, we like the body keeps tabs, right? So we're holding tension, we're holding emotions, we're holding things in, and you need a way to release it. And I feel like tears, that is a way, right? I cry for, yes, sadness. I cry for frustration. I cry for, sometimes I'm just like, I don't know what I'm feeling, but this is what's coming up, so I'm gonna let it go. And I feel like there is so much benefit to that, because like you said, sometimes it's like I just need a good 4 minutes to just release, right, however that feels. And then I'm like, wow, okay, I feel better, not that the problem is solved, but I can move on, right, like I can let go of whatever I was just holding on to. So that's a huge one too that I think is really important. Let's talk about, what do you think the current state of Black health is? I know that's a loaded question, but what are your feelings on the current state of Black health and how it's impacted Black culture?
Yes. So that is a very loaded question, and I have a very loaded response.
Okay.
Um, Distracted.
Hmm.
Black health is distracted. We are distracted from focusing on it. Um, and I use the term distracted not to invalidate the things that have our attention, you
Hmm.
know, because some of it is are worthy. Some of those things are worthy of our attention and worthy of
Hmm.
our energy. Um, and so, but even the maladaptive behaviors that we have, whether it's consumption of, harmful things like overconsumption of drugs, overconsumption of alcohol, overconsumption of technology, overconsumption of television, um, you know, um, overstimulation, over involvement, overindulgence, overworking, um, overthinking. Just there is so much to distract
Hmm.
the Black person from focusing on that very loving thing, which is your health. Um, and I think it is, that distraction is inherent in just the way that things have been running socially for years for Black folk, who have had to focus on their health last for various reasons,
Hmm.
um, for reasons that were against our will during a time of involuntary enslavement. Um, to having to fight for our lives in Reconstruction, having to fight for our lives and the lives of our children to be educated, um, during our fight for our rights, and continue to fight for our rights, fight to protect ourselves against violence, right? There's that fight that we've had to endure. But then there's also the lure of success, and
Hmm.
how that lure is so seductive in different facets of profession, different fields. And so in one field, the lure of success might have you, distracted from your health because you're focusing entirely on this productivity and these outcomes. In another profession, the lure of success might have you training in the gym beyond your limits,
Hmm.
to the point of sports injury. And another lure of success, you may be out every night, late nights, long hours, and having your circadian rhythm and your sleep patterns thrown off because this is the type of industry you're in, which is, entertaining. Um,
Hmm.
In another lure of success, you might be overexposed to chemicals because you are consistently in a lab doing this work, and you're trying to again do that productivity and those outcomes, and you have to keep working and maintain that exposure, which is how folks walk away with different cancers from working in plants and in certain labs. So when I say distracted, I mean that as loaded as it can be, because we're all living different lives. And
Yeah.
when I say the lure of success, I mean that as robustly as I can, because again, we're all living these different lives. And as Black people, on top of those two things, we also have not had the privilege to just exist fully humanly without having to worry so much. And so just it's just almost built in a little bit for us to have that rough patch as it pertains to our health.
Yeah. Yeah, it can feel like a constant uphill battle just to be a healthy human being. Because, like you said, I think unfortunately in 2024, there is so much to distract, to stimulate, to and just keep us inundated with things that are not conducive to our health. Like you said, constantly being attached to our devices, constantly being, even like you said, the lure of success, even the constant need to feel productive, right? That's something that we talk about, in our house a lot, is like, it's okay. And I think pivotal to have intentional downtime where you are not doing anything except resting. I think that is important. I think we do not need to fill every single day with accomplishing some type of goal. That's important, but I feel like there is also time to sit in stillness. I think we've lost our ability to sit in stillness because we're so overexposed. We've got, constantly being bombarded with different notifications from all of our apps, and even like I'm even thinking about like security cameras we have like around. Every time someone walks by, it's like, oh, somebody, every time I jump to my phone, like, what's going on, right? And even that need to like go to my device every time at this certain device, like I realize, I need to work on that too. Like we're all a part of this. But I think if I had to also add to the conversation, I would say confused, as the state of Black health. It's confused. There is so much information out there about, you should be doing this, you should be eating that, no, you shouldn't be eating that, oh, this causes cancer, oh, this is bad for you, oh, did you hear about
Mm.
this? There's so much, and it is like overwhelming. And especially as someone who is in the field, I'm like getting overwhelmed. Like every couple weeks it feels like, oh, there's this new study. I was just listening to a podcast that's talking about all of the chemicals that are leached into your meats and vegetables when you use plastic cutting boards. And I'm like, another thing, like another thing, right? And it's always something. And I understand the frustration from folks when they're like, I don't know what to do. So it's kind of like, I'm just going to live my life and whatever happens, happens, because every time I do something, somebody tells me it's wrong, right? This person says I should eat this way. This other person says that that's toxic, and plant-based, vegan versus carnivores and keto, and like there's so many people out there writing for, this is the one way to feel healthy and to do it right. And if you're not doing it this way, then you're doing it wrong.
We ain't doing it. Mm-hmm.
Not doing it right. And I think that is, I feel that, and I resonate and I empathize with anybody who's feeling confused in the world of health and wellness, because we're in a state of just over information. And although it's a double-edged sword, because I am also thankful that we have other means of education. I've learned so much from people's TikToks and Instagram videos, and then gone to do my own research and like, wow, that was 100% valid. I'm glad I experienced that and got introduced to that on social media. But again,
Yes.
time, everybody has their own opinions about what's good and what's bad and etc. And it can feel like an overload, and you're not knowing who to trust and what to do and what steps to take. So um, I think it's important to, yes, do the research, find out, and experiment with yourself. Like, okay, if you hear something, experiment with it. I am a fan of, for, up to a certain point, self-experimentation. Like if they say, oh, you should get out and get a couple of minutes of morning sunlight, hey, try it. If you feel good, keep it going, right? Um, but I think confused is how I would say that, the current state
Mm.
of health, and health in general, but especially Black health, just because I think we have tried to, a lot of us has tried to take it into our own hands of like, okay, I'm gonna get out here, I'm gonna educate the folks, I'm gonna, try to become a health coach, I'm gonna, do all the things to try to make a change. But again, even within that space, there's infighting between, this is the way to do it, no, this is the way to do it. Whoever told you that, you need to not trust them, you need to come. And there's so much happening. And I think it makes it hard for folks to know what they should be doing, and they kind of go the like route of, well, I'm just not going to do anything, which I think is dangerous.
Can I ask you a question?
Please.
Okay, so not feeling like you know what to do, people leaving you all kind of ways.
Mhm.
At the end of the day, you have to make a choice,
Yeah.
right? At the end of
Yeah.
the day, you have to use your intuition, right? Or you have to use your internal compass uh,
Hmm.
to act. What 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 impact do you think that spiritual health has on the ability to pursue physical health?
Whew, that's a good question.
That's that you and the fortune. That's that unpacking.
Yeah, I love it. So as you were talking, I was thinking about, you mentioned you need to have that like internal moral or that internal compass, right? Because sometimes you hear things and it's like, I don't know how I feel about that. That doesn't sound right. And that's that internal compass. That's that internal tuition of like, no, I don't think, at least for me, right? That doesn't sound like the right path for me. And I
Mhm.
think you need to be tuned into yourself in order to even be able to make that decision. Because I
Yes.
think, again, it is in this society where we are so tapped into our devices, and so we are so, it's other people's opinions are so easily accessible, and we're so inundated with other people's opinions all day long. It can be hard to separate, what do I actually think versus what I'm maybe just regurgitating from what I saw on social media. And so I think, if you're in that state where you're not sure, because I've had those moments where I'm like saying something or I'm thinking something and I'm like, is this how I actually feel, or am I just repeating something I heard from somebody I trust, but I'm just repeating something I heard. So I think that having, as silly as it sounds, having moments of silence, having moments of being away from your device,
Mm.
having moments of going internal and actually like, how do I feel about this? How does this make me feel? I think is important, so that you can learn to distinguish between like, this is my opinion, this is how I feel, versus, again, this is just the TikTok of the day that I heard from, five different people, that is now just on repeat in my head, because we're inundated with it again all day. So I think that, going back to your question, in my mind, that moment of silence, that going inward, is you tapping in, is tapping into that spirit, right? Is you getting in touch with your really your inner being, right?
Mhm.
And I think that is necessary and important, because otherwise, again, you're just going to be regurgitating and, doing what, taking other people's opinions on as your own, and that's not always going to be advantageous, because, again, you don't know what that person's motive is, right? They may not have your best interest in mind, or they may have your best interest in mind, but they may not understand that every individual is different. And I think that when we're going back to this whole state of confusion within Black health, I think that's the missing piece that a lot of people don't understand. Even the practitioners, the doctors, I think like the people giving the information, that there is no end all be all, there is no one size fits all
Right.
health. There's no one thing that everybody can or should do, or one way to eat, or one way to work out, right? And anybody telling you you just need to do this on a video, and they have no idea who you are, your lifestyle, your things you like, right? Like you have to take that at face value and know that this is something you're being introduced to. You have to now internalize this and figure out, is this something I should be doing? Does this make sense for me? Right? I hear people say like, oh yes, you need to be weightlifting 5 days a week, lifting heavy. I'm like, okay, if I really think about, does that make sense for me? Do I? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I would burn myself out. I would injure myself all over the place. That doesn't make sense for me, right? But for some people, that makes sense, and that makes them feel great, and they can take that information, implement it, and know that they're making the best decision for them. But you have to be able to make that discernment and know that any advice that's given to you, it's just a way to introduce it to you, and you now have to take that within, right? You have to take that, you have to sit with that, you have to sit in silence, you have to really sift through your own internal thoughts and think about, how do I feel about this? Maybe give it a try, right? How do I physically feel now after trying this, right? And does this make sense for me? I think that's a very important part of health and wellness, is taking information that you're given and doing that internal filtering process, if you will, to decide, okay, this is a habit I can adopt, right? This is something that makes sense for me. This is something I believe in. This is something I can get on board with. This is something I can teach my children and become a part of our family culture. Like, those are things I'm thinking about too when I'm trying to do new things. Is I'm not just this isn't just me doing something, right? Because I know that once we start a family, all the kids gonna be looking at, what is mom doing, right? What is dad doing, and doing those same habits. So it's about, what is the culture of health that I want to create within our household and within our family.
Yes.
So it's all those things that you need to be thinking through, that I think is important whenever you're hearing all the overload of information that is out there. That was a really long way to answer the question, and I don't know if I actually did.
No, you did, and it's you took us on the journey as you thought through it, which it wasn't one of our prepared questions. So that was a live processing, which was beautiful.
Yeah.
And hearing you say the filtration part, and that weightlifting 5 times a week, lifting heavy, that doesn't sound right. What also comes up for me is the lowest common denominator.
Mhm.
What is the most atomic version of the message you heard?
Mhm. Mhm.
It's use your muscles.
Yes.
you
Yeah.
know, oh, go outside like this. Oh no, go outside during this time. Do it this way. Walk this far, walk this short, walk uphill. No, you should be trying to go for a decline. The
Mhm.
lowest common denominator, get out.
Yes.
What's the atomic habit and behavior? Get outside.
Mhm.
So I think that if anyone, that's something that I use for myself as someone who's been on my health journey and developed a consciousness. I would say I was unconscious prior to this point. I developed a health consciousness in 2015 with a
Mhm.
knee injury, right?
Mhm.
With my second iteration of that injury, when I realized something that needed to change, and I had to get very real about what I even wanted.
Mhm.
And becoming overwhelmed, inundated, and now here I am in 2024, almost 10 years in this thing. Um, I still have to boil it down to
Yeah.
the smallest, most atomic behavior, because I'm not speaking um, di- about being distracted from health, being allured away from it, or being confused from a place of not knowing those things. Like I
Right.
myself experienced being distracted, being uh, being confronted with the lure of success and that taking it away from me and being confused.
Yes.
But how I'm able to navigate those things is through that atomic lens. Like, what is the smallest thing I can do for myself, because I just picked up this phone again and it gave me a headache right behind my eyes.
Mm-hmm.
The smallest thing I can do for myself because I've been sitting sedentary for hours and I
Yes.
haven't even hardly moved or walked anywhere. What is the smallest thing I can do?
Yes.
Nothing bands in there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So thank you. Oh my goodness.
I love that because I think that it makes it digestible for folks, right? It's again, take whatever you're hearing, like you mentioned, maybe it's somebody telling you something real specific. Go out during this time of day. Go out and do it for this specific thing. And I think you really have to sift through like what is the overall theme of what they're saying, right? Like you said, get outside, get closer to nature, right? Have the sunlight touch your skin at some point during the day. That's the best way to start. Make it work for you the way it's going to work for you, right? Whether you eat lunch outside. For me, I started gardening and I love it because I am so low key obsessed with how my basil is growing outside. I check on it multiple times a day and I'm like, wow, look at me getting outside. And even if it's for like 5 minutes, I work from home, so I'm inside all the time. So getting outside, for 5 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes in the morning is fantastic. Then again in the afternoon, because I'm just like, I wonder how it's doing. I know it ain't changed much in the last few hours, but it's getting me outside. And so that's how I've implemented it, right? And I love it. So you have to make it work for you. I've been the most consistent at getting outside since I started my garden. And so that is how I've made that advice to get outside, right? I've heard even again, get outside as soon as you wake up. Within 30 minutes, you got to get outside for at least 10 minutes, and you got to look in the direction of the sun. Don't look at the sun, but look in the direction of the sun. It's like that's a lot. That's a lot. I'm gonna start my garden. I'm gonna go outside, and that's how I'm gonna get my sunshine. Right? Make
We
it
gonna
work.
be all right.
Right.
Yes.
Yes, I
Because
love
one
that.
thing about black people and about black culture, one thing about us, we gonna make it
We
and
gonna
we
make
gonna
it.
be all right.
Yes.
We gonna be just fine. Even if we're not where we want to be and need to be, we will make it. There will be the black future. And
Yes.
if we're working on our health, it's gonna be a bright black future.
Yes. Yes.
Right?
If there is
Mm.
one thing we are, it is resilient. Resilient. So absolutely, absolutely. We have another guest who has joined, and so I'm going to have Brother Woods join the conversation here and do an introduction before we get into our next question. All right. Hello, hello, welcome.
Hey, how y'all doing? How y'all doing? How y'all
Hey.
doing? Good afternoon.
Wonderful,
Good
wonderful.
afternoon.
Good afternoon. How you feeling?
I'm feeling very grateful and very full for being here.
Mm.
I'm just super grateful to be here. So I'm walking with
Awesome.
that energy today.
Yes, I love it. Well, we're happy to have you, as a part of the conversation for sure. Before we get into the next question, can you tell the folks a little bit about yourself? Just quick introduction about, you, if you're repping a brand or a company, and we started out with this question of what is your definition of health?
I'm James Woods, aka That Yoga Dude. Well, feel free to feel free. I am a health and wellness speaker, trainer. I lead people through beating burnout and feeling the best about themselves. Organizations, schools, companies, training them with the opportunity to see how they can transform not only their lives, but the lives of the people that they serve. I have my master's in marriage and family therapy. I have my 300-hour training for yoga. So I'm a certified yoga instructor, and I'm really living life. I'm really having conversations. I'm really doing sweats and sweat lodges. Taking mushrooms. I'm talking to my parents. I'm journaling. I'm praying. I'm meditating. I'm living life to the best of my abilities and growing every day with it. And I invite y'all to do the same with me on this conversation.
Wow, I
Thank
love
you.
I love that. I love that you are walking the walk, talking the talk. And I think you'll have some really good value to add to this wonderful conversation we've already been having. So we're really excited to have you joining, and thank you for taking out the time to sit with us on this Black Health Roundtable for Black Future Month
Yes,
2024.
yes, yes.
Yes. So I think you caught the tail end of what we were just discussing about. We were actually talking about the current state of Black health. Um, I would love to talk about, are there some cultural shifts that we can make within our communities, within our families, to help increase life expectancy?
Mm.
Mhm.
Yes, they are being made. And how you doing, Maya Williams? How you doing? Good to see
Hey,
you,
nice to
Sinclair. How you
meet you,
doing?
James Woods.
Nice to meet you. Yes, the cultural shifts are being made for Black people to consider self care mandatory, for Black men to have events where they can go and talk about grief, where they can talk about what they're experiencing. That's why I'm late. Excuse me. I'm coming from a fatherhood event where Black people are talking about what they are experiencing. That is already extending our future. That's already adding to our future because we know trauma. We know, I heard y'all talking about the resiliency, and we are a very resilient people. And we're also, through our resiliency, I think we've gotten to the point where we understand we don't always have to struggle. We don't always have to
Mhm.
endure. We don't always have to be in the place of suffering. We can move to a place of elevating. We can move to a place of healing, and it's open to us. It belongs to us. It's a part of who we are to heal as well as to endure. So our future is so bright. It's so many. I see so many male Black yoga teachers. I say that because whenever I used to say that, people were like, "Oh wow, Black man, that's a yoga teacher." I don't never see that. Now we everywhere.
Nice.
You can get different healing modalities. People are not as afraid of um, healing modalities outside of their traditional, what they felt they had before, whether it church, whether it be alcohol, whether it be watching BET. People are open to healing outside of what was traditional. So that opens the door to a very, very bright future. I was just talking the other day to my homeboy, like, man, what is our future going to look like? Kids who are actually able to have a voice and express themselves, kids
Mm.
who have been through counseling, kids who have um, been able to connect with other kids and have these real conversations and stuff. Things that I didn't have. Like now you get to see it's going to be a future of children and people who understand what trauma is and understand that healing from trauma is a part of becoming a full-fledged adult. Like
Mm.
that's becoming mandatory now to become a grown man. It ain't just I got my bills paid, I take care of my business. It's, are you healing? Are you dealing with, like, those are questions that are being asked, and those are processes that people are going through. So I have a lot of faith and hope in our future.
Yes.
Mhm.
Wow, there were so
Mhm.
many good nuggets there. First of all, I'm so happy to hear that there are more, Black male yoga teachers walking around out there, because representation is so important for folks to know that this is accessible and a tool that we all can use, right? It's not, just for a certain group of people. And I think that that's really important. So kudos to you for spreading the word, for doing the work that you do, because it is so, so, so important. So we have
And
a
kudos to y'all for keeping it, holding it down with the locks. I miss my locks. Y'all making me miss them right now.
Yeah,
Y'all are good.
yeah.
it's team locks, team locks. Any plans to bring him back? Or are you rocking the
Nah,
new look?
nah. I cut mine and I saw it was a little thin up there, and I said, all right, I'm not gonna go to Turkey and get the little fake joint. I'm gonna just keep rocking the ball to make it happen. So just enjoying this experience of life now. But y'all making it look good.
So
Thank
thank you.
you. Thank you, brother.
I'm gonna have somebody quoting you already. Already, first answer. So healing from trauma is necessary to become a full-fledged adult. So Hope says that's inspiring. It really is, and I think it is becoming now. I think healing from trauma, no matter what type of trauma, no matter how big or small, no matter, like, everybody's got some form of it. And I think, to your point, healing from that should be a part of, becoming an adult. It should be a part of it should be a part of childhood, right? It should be a part
Yeah,
of
yeah, yeah.
developing.
Hmm.
But I think that it's becoming uh, a part of even dare I say it, a popular culture, which is
100%.
weird, but
100%.
it's a way to spread the word, right? It's a way to make something normalized, which I think is
Yes.
important, right? I was watching, I think, some type of Instagram video, TikTok, something that was somebody saying, "I'm in my healed era."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, that's it's such an interesting phenomenon to see on social media. But again, it's starting the conversation of like, what does that mean, right? There's people in the comments asking, what does that mean? What are you doing? And I think even just starting that conversation of people sharing their own experiences of how they're healing, right? What they're using, is it therapy? Is it just all these different modalities? I think is it journaling? I think it's so important to talk about what everybody is doing and what's working so that we can open that conversation and make it a more normalized part of becoming an adult and developing. And like you said, not just you graduate high school, you get a job, you go to college, right? All these things that are, I think, what we're taught to be, the marks of adulthood, paying bills, those types of
Mm-hmm.
things. But really doing that work within, I think, is a really important part of the conversation.
Yes, indeed. Yes,
Yeah.
indeed. And to add to that, um, I've seen on the internet how beautiful and expressive we are with like champagne parties and baby reveals and stuff. And it's important for us to have ceremony. I realized that. I went to a men's retreat with some Native American brothers, and I really saw how important ceremony is. And I think our ceremonies have shifted around celebrating how well we have been doing economically and how we
Mhm.
celebrate and create ceremony around that. In education, a lot of it's graduation time ceremony around it. So I can't wait to see how dope and expressive we are when we move into a place of creating ceremony around healing from the traumas, whether
Mm.
it be, ooh, I let that go about my daddy, I let it go about what happened, this didn't happen, or I created space for this and whatever. Just I think we gonna make some really dope healing ceremonies, and it's gonna look so good on on all the social media platforms and stuff too. It's gonna look dope. Like,
Yes.
yeah,
Wow. To even
it's
think
gonna
about
be
what
dope.
that could look like is
Hmm.
is exciting. Like what would you do to celebrate, moving past and moving through this traumatic things that happened to us? That's a beautiful thing. I'm excited for that era as well.
Right.
Right.
I see you thinking, Dr. Maya.
Hmm.
Um, I feel like that'd be a great Black Twitter thread. Like, how do we
Yeah.
celebrate, getting out of that toxic relationship, or letting go of some parent trauma, or getting out of the toxic masculine, whatever it is. You know what I mean? That'd be
Yep.
dope.
Absolutely.
I think about, your statement encouraged me to think about, do I celebrate that healing right now, today? Like,
Mm,
what
mm,
what what do we do right now to celebrate
mm,
being different than we
mm,
were, to celebrate
Hmm.
being better than we have been? And, I think about that self retreating that you talked about earlier, Sinclair,
mm,
and, just how important it is to um, celebrate yourself and know that it is a big deal. Maybe you heard that it wasn't a big deal. Maybe in the height of your emotion or the height of your stress, it was that you were exaggerating, or that you were out of touch with how big of a deal it was. But you moving through it and choosing yourself every step away is, and really fighting for your life, fighting for your sanity, fighting for um, your peace and your balance and your character in this world and the next one.
mm, mm.
Like that is a victory, because everything is on the line.
Hmm.
Everything is on the line. Everything is trying to pull us away from that highest version and vision that we're supposed to be.
Mhm.
So, the fight that we have to put up, healing is a beautiful thing, but it is a process, and it's a
Mhm.
fight. And sometimes sometimes it's a dog fight depending on how we
Mhm.
heal.
Mhm.
And so you like you just like you have to have the stamina in other places, to the stamina to complete that run, or the stamina to finish that project. You have to have the stamina for that journey, and really know that you can make it to the other side of that hump.
Yeah.
Mhm.
uh,
I
That's
think
real.
sometimes we even think about healing as a linear path upwards
Mhm.
and not realizing, like you said, it's a fight. It's a roller coaster. I know that's something that I had to really sit with and internalize, because I would kind of beat myself up about like regressing, like you
Mhm.
progress a little bit and then you have those moments where you regress a little bit and not realizing that that's a part of the journey. And
Mhm.
like, just because you may have made a step forward, it doesn't mean it's going to look like this pretty little, upward trajectory, right? It's still going to be this, right? But the
Right.
overall trajectory, you want to be in the upward direction, but you're still going to have those moments where you're fighting your past self. And I think realizing that it is a marathon, right? It is a marathon, and you have these little races in the marathon that you just have to get past, right? You just have to cross that finish line and realize that there's another one coming, right? You got a whole nother race to start after that. But I think that's something to your that I took from what you were saying, that I think we need to also realize as a part of healing, is that it is a journey, an up and down roller coaster in the upward direction, but it's not always going to look that way. It's not always going to be a nice, pretty little line. Nobody's, I feel like we're human at the end of the day, and as long as we're doing everything we can, getting up at every day, trying to be a better version than yesterday, then that's how you make sure you continue to progress. But yeah, I think that's something that I had to internalize, that like healing is not linear.
No.
It's definitely not, and that's okay.
And I grew up watching like Martin and Living Single and all those sitcoms on Friday with Carl Winslow and all them. And looking back at it, you see episodes where is a problem in the beginning and then gets resolved within that 20-30 minutes. And I think I adopted that for my own life. Like, oh yeah, this is going to be resolved right after the commercial break. I'm like, nah, it's still going. Even you know, as the series goes, the issues and stuff can still be there, and it shows up in different ways. And so that helps me take it a little bit easier on myself. Of,
Mhm.
hey, this is just one episode, and some characters and some things might carry over to the next episode, but it's all still the same. It's all the same show. It's
Yeah.
still a show that I enjoy until I'm like, I don't want to do this show anymore. I want to do something totally different, and I have that ability to change and make that decision. And I think that's all a part of the healing process. As you said, it's not linear. It's up down. It's all the way around. It's a circle. It's changing characters. You might have one amphiv look like this, and the other amphiv look like that. It's like stuff come in and stuff go. So
Yep.
it's always different.
Absolutely.
hmm.
You got anything to add, Queen Williams?
No, I was just thinking about our families, and the everything that's been offered up just now, and like how we can impact the health of black families in the future. I really feel that knowing that we can make a change at any time is
Mhm.
the major key, and helping our youth know. I would want my children to know that you
Yeah.
can, it doesn't matter what you did. It does matter. Life has consequences, but it doesn't matter what you did 30 minutes ago. Like, you can make a new choice right now. You don't have to commit to the fact that you fell off the wagon, and now you did this all day yesterday, and you just lying in that. No, you can change that right now. You haven't been outside in 3 weeks because you in whatever kind of state. That's okay. You can do that right now, today. You've been on some kind of restrictive diet because your health mandates it, and you couldn't resist whenever you couldn't resist. That's okay. You can start again right now.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right now. and just knowing that, um, to the spiritual health component that we discussed and earlier, Brother Woods, we were talking about like how having a high level in of the spiritual health, how that impacts and other areas of your health, and knowing that your spiritual health is in a strong place, how that might influence your ability to process other health related issues or barriers, right? And so it's
Mm-hmm.
like knowing that you were created
Mm-hmm.
if you were created to be who you are, then you can do these great things over and over again. That last time you had success won't be the last time you had the success with yourself, with the outcome, with the goal you're trying to reach. You
Mm-hmm.
can do that again. You can do that here. You could do that right now.
Yeah.
100%. That spiritual wealth component is the spiritual health is health, as as within so without, as above so below. All those, how you see yourself and how you see yourself as being created is going to be manifested in how you live in this world. So that is
Mhm.
something I'm still constantly learning and I'm constantly returning to, is where am I at spiritually? What do I feel? How do I think about myself? Who do I know? What are the truths that are of me, of James Woods right now? And I have to ask that, especially when I look outside in my world and I see things that I don't like. Okay, why is this here? What is this representing? So let me go into where it's originated within the spirit to understand why it's coming out like this in this world. And that's something that is so powerful. And so I think, I hope it's something that I'm still understanding and still getting. Because initially when I thought health, I'm thinking, okay, because I grew up playing sports. How fast can I be? How strong can I be? And then it turned into aesthetics. Can I get abs and muscles for the girls? Can I do this and have all this? And then you start thinking about, okay, what is my longevity like? I'm eating these fruits and I'm putting these foods into my body. And then for me, it's elevated into, and in the mental health, what am I thinking about myself? And now it's elevated to that spiritual, which encompasses all. Who
The
am I?
ascension.
Hmm.
Yeah. So thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah. And I do have we're at a good point where I think we'll have like one more question before we wrap up. But I did want to touch on, I think, an important conversation to have, and hopefully this doesn't take us down too much of a rabbit hole. We may not get to that other question, but I think an important conversation to have specifically in our community is everything you mentioned as it relates to spiritual health. You did not once mention any certain religion.
Mm-mm.
And I
That
think
was
that that's,
intentional.
huh? Right,
That was
right. Because
intentional. Mhm.
absolutely, because I think for a lot of our community, when we talk about spiritual health, it is automatically, going to how many times did you go to church this month, or did you read your Bible type of thing. And although that can be an important part of spiritual health, it's so much more than that. And I think understanding and bringing these other things into the conversation, how do you feel about yourself? Right? How do you feel about what you're seeing in the world, and having that conversation? If you believe in a higher power, having that relationship and how you're feeling about that relationship, it is a more of a conversation than just, I think, what many of us have, many people or many young folks in our community are kind of grown up knowing about spiritual health. And I think that that's also an important thing to bring in the conversation, that it's a wider conversation than just religious beliefs. And I think
Mm.
sometimes we can get so stuck on certain religious beliefs, and not being open-minded to other aspects of spiritual health. And that's always something that, again, when we're talking about that internal compass that we were talking about earlier, Maya, right? There
Yeah.
are, for me, I feel like I've been pretty in tune with the internal compass, to where there's certain things that have been said that I'm just like, that just does not feel right to me,
Mm-hmm.
right? I cannot get on board with that. And I think feeling good that you have that internal compass and that you're tapped in, I think is a very important part of that spiritual health and health in general. Um,
Mhm.
so I wanted to introduce that and see if y'all had any thoughts.
It just, I mean, it to me, it goes back to earlier in the conversation when we were talking about the defeatedness, right? So, Brother Woods, like one of the first things we talked about was the misconceptions we had about health and the
Mhm.
things that we got wrong. And you kind of went through that just now with, your story about strength and abs and stuff. And
Mhm.
so, I had mentioned that I thought that you born how you born. If you got a disease, you
Mhm.
inherited that just is what it is. You can manage it, but I didn't have a notion of like prevention and control. And we talked about feeling defeated and feeling out of control and feeling without inspiration
Mhm.
because you already accepted this defeat. So to the point you just made, Sinclair, and like how you asked me like what about spirit, it's the ultimate confidence, I feel, that you
Mhm.
can get it, that you can change it, that you can. I think that the spiritual health leads to that ultimate confidence that things can work in your favor and you can
Mhm.
make the changes that you want to, and you're not weak and you are strong and you do have what you need, and there is a tomorrow and there is another opportunity, and you can get the results that you want, and you can be the man or woman of your dreams. You can do and be those things if
Mhm.
you know. And I feel like so much of knowing
Mhm.
connected with that spiritness, with that conscious spirit, impacts so much of knowing. And when you know, you most certainly tend to do.
Mhm. And Dr. Williams, Dr. Maya,
Just
anybody in the
Maya,
audience?
just
Oh,
Maya.
okay. Probably
No,
are
no
used to it.
doctor.
I
Um,
get.
Maya, as you said it too, when I talked about the steps and things I was looking at, you said it's an ascension, and it is. And people come into it all different levels, and people are at all different levels, and there's infinite levels. It's always gonna keep going, keep going, keep going. And you just said it too. It's a knowing. It's not a thinking. It's a knowing. When you know in your spirit, you know. You don't have to think about it. But a lot of people get caught into just thinking and being in their head. And religion can be a very, like education, like a job, like everything else. It can be very logical and very much in your
Mhm.
head, and you can stay there. And then there's level higher when the spiritual, and then it's spirituality is a feeling where you feel what's right, but it's not a sensation. It's not tactile. It's not just
Mm,
what's in front of you and stuff like that. And you have to have that experience where you go beyond thinking, you go beyond just sensing things to that place where it's a spiritual experience. And it's a place of faith, it's a place of spirituality that is connected to everything. So it's not limited by anything. You
Mhm.
can't put a book on it. You can't put a practice on it. You can't put a routine on it, politics behind it. It is what it is, and we all got it, and we all experience it in different ways. And
mhm.
if we stay with that experience and stay trying to expand that experience with me, stay trying to expand that experience, it just becomes life. So life becomes a spiritual experience, not just a set of experiences that are regulated by
Yeah.
what another person said within religious confines,
Mhm.
academic confines, political confines, all these other confines. And I think us as Black folks, that's a future for us because that's a part of our past. That's who
Mhm.
we are. That's our origin story of understanding who we are beyond just thinking, feeling, or sensing. We know who we are. So it comes back to that. As always the root, and it's the future.
Yeah. Wow. Here's how I can tell that you're a speaker because you are so eloquent with the way that you say
Thank you. I
things.
appreciate that. I appreciate that.
Yes. Oh, really? And I think that the way you were talking about it's a knowing, it's getting past thinking, it's getting past the logical. You can't put a certain practice to it or a book to it. I think that is exactly kind of what I was trying to get at, is that it's more than that. It's more than those things. It's more than a set of rules that you need to follow from any person that says you need to do it right. I think it's that internal, that feeling, that intuition, that nobody needs to tell you, you just know. That's I think huge. I love that. um Okay, so our final question here before we end this wonderful conversation. Oh, and yes, Maya, I love that you called out his. Look, we quote
I
you all
I
over the place.
am too.
It is a part of our future because it's a part of our past, right? It's a part of our origin story. And like I said at the beginning, Black Future Month is not about taking over or erasing Black History Month, because again, if you know anything about us in our business, we are all about Black history, because it's important for you to know where you come from so that you know where you can go, where you are going. And so this is in addition to Black History Month, because we cannot be here talking about Black future if we're not also talking about our origin story, right? And I think that it is absolutely a part of the conversation. But I think we would be remiss if we didn't leave our audience with maybe some recommendations, right? So, what is one habit that you would like to recommend for people to adopt in their lives to support their health moving forward? Right, Maya, you talked about no matter what has gone on in the past, you can choose to make the decision today. So, if you could leave the audience members with something that you would recommend for them to do today, moving forward, what would that be?
I would say focus on reciprocity with yourself. And so, and take that in the most literal, intrusive way that you can. Integrate that value of reciprocity as deeply as you can as it pertains to yourself. And so, if you work in like this for other people, reciprocity says you're going to work like this for yourself. Whatever value, make sure it's reciprocal. If you're going to, if you're going to eat like this because that's what you're going to do right now, make sure you balance that out and eat like this because that's what the reciprocity value says. If you're going to if you have spent, if you wake up or you realize that, dang, I've been beating myself up for the past 3 hours over this matter. The value of reciprocity says you need to find a way to big yourself up and love on yourself for the next few hours, some kind of way. Like make it very, very literal, bar for bar. Anything going the other way, you make sure you implement that value and that law of reciprocity so that you're bringing back to yourself and you're watering yourself and you're showering yourself. And not just in the sense of cleansing, but in the sense of pouring into yourself.
Love that. Love
I
that.
do. I love that. That's so
Mhm.
good. I love the water. And in the same vein of that, where your faith has to be bigger than your faults. So we all have things we're working on. We all going through a process, but magnifying your faith, and that could look like journaling and understanding. Okay, I did this today. I did that today, but this is where I'm going. This is what I'm building. This is what I look like. This is what I am becoming. Your becoming is based on your faith, and if you ever feel like your faith is starting to falter, and you feel like you don't believe in yourself as much as you as if you don't believe in you as much as your and as big as your dream is, magnify that faith even more. Read something that's gonna make you feel like you already becoming who you are. Talk to
Mhm.
somebody. Scroll Instagram that's looking at the things that you are working on becoming. Tap into being outside and being amazed by how big the sky is, how much the ground can hold you. Just allow your faith to be as big as not just the world you're experiencing, but the world that you are actually in. Because we are in a huge world, a big world, and there's so much out here, and that is a representation of your faith. So continue to expand on your faith through literature, through writing, through friendships and relationships, and building new relationships and new practices to help you develop that faith. But yeah, I love the reciprocity, and that's just magnifying your faith.
Mm-hmm.
Love that. Look,
That's
folks, gonna walk away feeling real good, getting some good advice on here on how to walk away feeling good. I think I will add, it's going to be along the same lines for both of you, but really tangible is I want folks to intentionally build a couple of minutes of silence into your day. Whether that's, like we were talking about Maya, however that looks like for you, right?
mm-hmm.
If that's in the morning, if you can give yourself a couple of mornings before you roll over and, start scrolling on your phone, if it's after your lunch, if it's right after the shower, whatever it works for you, I think building a couple of minutes of just stillness and silence is so important because um, I was talking throughout today's conversation about how we're so overstimulated, so over just there's so much going on. We have notifications constantly bombarding us on our phone. There's just a lot going on in the world today, and it can be really easy to get inundated with other people's beliefs, other people's thoughts, other people's lifestyles, other people's right. Where it's this phone is a great tool, but it does give us access to a world that our brains, our bodies, our spirits were not designed to be exposed to, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're not necessarily designed to be able to access that many people at once and take on all of their trauma, take on all of their thoughts, feelings. That's overwhelming. And I think a way to combat that, if we're talking about again reciprocity, right, is to also take some time to sit with your own thoughts, to sit with your own, and I'm not talking about like, you have to sit in silence and not have any thoughts, because I think that's nearly impossible. Just sit and analyze your thoughts. Sometimes I like to just sit and think about what I'm thinking about. Is that weird? As weird as that sounds, just sit in silence and every couple of minutes check in. What was I just thinking about? What was just inundating my thoughts, a second ago? How do I feel about that? Do I want to maybe change the narrative in my head? Right? What are the things consuming my brain right now? And do I like those things? Or should I maybe put my focus towards something else? I think it's important. You can start to have those internal conversations when you have time to sit and pay attention to yourself and what you're paying and what you're thinking about and what is taking up space, what is taking real estate up in your head. So if you take nothing away from today, all of the advice that was given, the only thing again I would add is make it real tangible. 5 minutes, right? If you can find 5 minutes in the day to just sit in silence and really get in tune with yourself, I think that will increase your faith. I think that will help with your reciprocity, right? I think it will. You'd be surprised about the things you can start to think about, the things you can start to dream about, the conversations you'll start to have, right? Sometimes maybe you're thinking about someone else and you're realizing I probably need to reach out to that person and have a conversation, right? I think it's just about giving yourself intentional time to be with yourself and not be again inundated with everybody else's thoughts and feelings and traumas. So that would be my advice to everybody. Yeah. So again, this was such a powerful conversation. I feel so like charged up in,
Yes.
in the best way possible from hanging out with y'all today. I again appreciate you coming out, popping up on screen and taking out time to join us here for the Black Future Month Health Roundtable. Are any last thoughts that folks want to leave before we end the conversation?
Just I said our past is our present, and our present is our future. So as you said, being in that stillness, being in that mindfulness, taking a breath is going to create our future, and that's a beautiful power to have and enjoy and acknowledge.
Absolutely. All
I
right.
just, I'm walking off with that gratitude that you walked in here with. Brother
Likewise.
Woods, I'm walking off that same way. I'm thankful that you guys invited me to be with this space. And I'm glad that I prioritized doing this. And this was something I did for myself. I knew this conversation was gonna get my mind right and put me where I needed to be. Cause like I said, that distraction, that lure, the confusion, this was a clarifying moment.
Yeah,
And I hope that those of you who were watching with us that you felt that and experienced that too.
Absolutely.
likewise. I
Good.
say,
We need more conversations like this. We'll be having this Black Health Roundtable every year in June for Black Future Month. So, again, please feel free to drop comments, even if you're watching this in a recording afterwards. Please feel free to keep the conversation going. Next week, we have the Education Black Future Month Roundtable. I believe, Maya, you'll be back for that conversation. And we'll have some other great guests as we have the same type of conversation around education, which is a critical piece of the Black future. So again, thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for joining and being a part of the conversation. Thank you to everybody in the comments who was being a part of the conversation. We appreciate you. You were a pivotal part of the conversation as well. And again, hope everybody has a great weekend. And we'll see you hopefully next Saturday. I believe we're starting at 9 a.m. for the 9 a.m. Pacific for the Education Roundtable. So we will see you then. All right.
peace.
Thank you. Take care, everybody.